Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. This morning, I woke up thinking about the mountain dulcimer. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with what we're going to look at today, except that it started me thinking about drone strings and about how harmonic resonances relate to reverb. Today, we're going to send a reverb through a couple of filter banks and try to create that sense of resonant strings, harmonic strings that are attached to so many of the world's interesting instruments. Let's take a look. Well, my sound source is Westwood's Cello Untamed, and it's a spectacular instrument. If you've never played around with it, the interface looks like this. It really is not a conventional cello, although you can play conventional cello sounds. It's not really what it's designed for, but if you look down here, you can see there are recordings of what they call improvisations, which is a long cello, sort of like bowed event. I'm just holding one key down. You get it, right? It's gorgeous. One of my favorite things are these gorgeous kind of like circular bowed sounds. Decent tremolos, very dramatic. Many improvs, though, and then the storm is kind of wonderful. As I bring the expression and dynamics up, I get additional layers. Crazy, right? Listen, I'm just going to choose flottando, and holding down the shift key, I'll add an 8VA glue, which is like a sine wave, an octave underneath the original tone. Here's that low G again. Okay, that's my sound source. Now, in my mixer, you can see the cello is here, and I've set up a bus, and I've set up my bus so that it's pre-fader. Pre-fader bus basically means even if I turn this all the way down, audio is still going to be shooting out from this channel when I play a note through the bus to my auxiliary. Well, take a look at what I have on my auxiliary. The very first thing is this channel EQ. The channel EQ is filtering the sound. And we're just hearing my aux channel now. And you can see I'm letting a little bit of the bass through and not a lot of the highs. What I'm doing next is dropping into a reverb. And the reverb I'm using is Izotope's Neoverb, because it's a very interesting controlled reverb that allows me to get several spaces at once and choose exactly how I want those spaces to interact. I could even, if I wanted to, animate that. But there's my reverb, and you can hear it's blooming and lasting a good long time. I could EQ the reverb if I wished. There we go. I'm going to leave this window open in the background because now it's time to take a look at the two filter banks. Now I'm going to open both filter banks at once. There's the first one, and here's the second one. And I don't know if you can see it, but these two filter banks are set up quite similarly. I played a low C, and I grabbed the sort of resonant peak of that C in the reverb and raised that, just that filter notch up, and then went through and found peaks within that C that would work for me. We'll talk about the modulations in a moment, but let's just hear a simple fifth, C and G. So we're not hearing the direct signal of the cello at all. We're hearing the cello EQ'd into a reverb, and then that reverb is being filtered through these two filter banks. Now, a filter bank essentially lets only certain frequencies through, and because the sliders are amplitudes, I can choose which frequency I want to allow. That means some frequencies will pop out more than others. You can hear it, right? Now, the great thing about this filter bank, and this is the one that's just built into Logic, although almost all filter banks will give you some of these options, is that you can assign an LFO, here this LFO and over here, to modulate the intensity of each filter and also to slightly shift those filters side to side. It's a beautiful sound just by itself, and if I just play a couple of tones, I'm creating a whole new landscape. Now, I think that sounds terrific, but I want to just add in a tiny bit of the original cello. Now, because I'm using two filter banks, I can create slightly different rates of change, and that's what I've done. Here, the rate of change is 4 bars and 4 bars, and here the rate is 5 bars and 3 bars. Because they're in series, we're getting what's called interference of periodicity in the way those filters work together. And so it never really repeats. So just holding down 3 notes, this is just a big open major chord. I'm getting a beautiful pad. It definitely reminds me of the harmonic strings on Indian instruments like sitars and venas, and the beautiful hybrid bass sounds of the Bazantar. If you don't know about the Bazantar, it's well worth looking up. I'll try to leave a link for it. There's a local bass player named Mark Deutch who has created a beautiful upright bass that's outfitted with harmonic strings. Spectacular sound. Well, we can reach for that sound ourselves by using resonance, reverb, and filter banks in a series like this. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell. You'll know when I post my next video. I'll see you next time.